And we are live, back with another rendition of the Prove Me Wrong podcast on the Los's Corner Store. I'm your host, Carlos Ojeda, and today we have episode 61, 10 UFC Dream Fights for the second half of 2022. I made my list of the fights that I want to see between July and December that have not been made yet. Let's start with number 10, middleweight division. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. A direct result of the results of UFC 276 that just happened July 2nd. Alex Pereira, first round KO. Israel Adesanya, complete pitch shutout. 50-45s across the board. Damn near never got hit. Alex called out Izzy. Izzy kind of called out Alex. I think this is just a fight to make. Not really. I feel like there's people that deserve it more than Alex, but Israel's already beat all of them. So I guess we're going with Alex, and I want to see the fight. I'm not going to act like I don't. Guy has 2 wins over Israel Adesanya, a knockout over Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. It would just make sense to kind of run that up and see what happens. Where I guess people are really tired of Izzy just dominating at this point. Like, he's starting to get hate for just being that damn good. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, him versus Alex would be a great build-up. It'd be a lot of shit talk one way because Alex's English is not great. He's working on it, though. I've noticed he is working on his English. It's getting better. Good shit, Alex Pereira. I think it would be a good storyline. And honestly, it's the best striker that MMA's ever seen versus probably the best kickboxer to ever come into MMA. So it would only make sense. And at number 9, I have 170-pound welterweight bout, Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal. Look, Leon caught that 3-piece in a soda, and Masvidal literally has made millions off that 3-piece in a soda. It's kind of the fight to make. Jorge's on a losing streak. I think he lost to Usman twice, then to Colby. Yeah, 3-fight losing streak. He's 3-3 in his last 6. Still one of the biggest draws in the sport. Why not make the fight? Because I don't expect Leon to beat Kamaru, and I could be fucking wrong, but I don't. I just don't. So, yeah, if Leon loses to Kamaru, I think the quickest way for him to get back to Kamaru is through George. And I think George's fastest route to get back to Kamaru is through Leon. And these two really don't fuck with each other. So, here we are. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fight that makes sense to me. Honestly, no belt, I'd pay $75. Fuck it. You can make that a pay-per-view. As long as it's stacked, I'd pay $75. All right, coming in at number 8. Women's bantamweight 135-pound fight. Valentina Shevchenko versus Amanda Nunes. Let's just assume Amanda gets her belt back, and then Valentina just talked about going up after her last win. It's kind of a no-brainer, you know? It's the 2 best women on the planet going against each other, you know? Pretty fucking awesome. A lot of people think Valentina won that second fight. Amanda clearly won the first fight. We kind of need a third fight. It was scheduled, then it was no longer scheduled, and they haven't even gone back to it. Valentina's been ruling the 125 division. Amanda's gone on to be the greatest of all time. If Amanda gets her belt back, I would love to see Valentina versus Amanda. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Because I think Valentina is just getting better with every fight. She's already had, I think, 40 minutes of fighting with Amanda. So it only makes sense. Coming in at number 7, at heavyweight, I got John Jones versus Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa. Guys kind of went at it on Twitter a little bit earlier this week, and it got me thinking. And honestly, I know Tai has to fight Cyril I know John is either going to fight Stipe or Francis. He came out and said he wants to fight Stipe over Francis because he feel like a win over Stipe means more. I don't know about that. You're not a champ if you get a win over Stipe, but whatever logic that is, I think he really just doesn't want to fight Francis. So yeah, honestly, if Ty is able to get past Cyril, him versus John Jones would be a banger. Because John Jones is one of the more technically sound strikers, and it's a big, big wrestler. And Tai Tuivasa is that guy who's never going to take a step back, who doesn't get knocked out. He's just going to try to knock your fucking head off. I think this is literally the fight that if like... Because, like, Francis is a striker. He's got that one-punch knockout power, but he's a striker. Stipe is a striker. Ty is a brawler. And we've never seen John Jones in there with a brawler. Especially one that could bang like Ty. So, honestly, this is the fight that, like, if there were no belts, this is the fight that I would want to see more. You know what I mean? Just pure entertainment value. Coming in at number 6, 145-pound featherweight bout, Henry Cejudo versus Alexander Volkanovski. I'm kind of on Ariel Helwani's train where I kind of don't like all this moving up and down, to be honest. I like long title reigns. I like when champions stick around in their division. I don't really care for when champions try to go up or down anymore at this point. It's kind of been overplayed and redundant. I get it that it happens in boxing, but it's just... MMA is I don't know. I don't like it. I like it in boxing, but I don't like it in MMA. It's weird. It's because it's a different sport. Boxers can fight 6 times a year, and nobody's going to get, like, a champion can fight 4 times a year, and nobody's going to get angry. If you see a champion, like, no champion fights 4 times a year anymore, unless it's Izzy. I don't even think Izzy's fought 4 times in a year, to be honest. You look that up right now. Like, Kamaru fought 3 times in 21, 1 time in 20, which I guess is okay. Yeah, nah. He fought 2 times in 19 when he won the belt. And then... Hold on. Shout out to Sherdog, bro. I remember being like 15 years old, just like on Sherdog, looking up records and all this good stuff. So let's look. Izzy, who I feel like has been a really active champ. He fought 3 times in 2019, which is when he won the belt, but he won it at the end of 2019. Yeah. The last time he fought 4 times in a year was the year he made his debut in 2018. Rob Wilkinson, Marvin Vettori, Brad Tavares, Derek Brunson. I feel like Alex has been an active champ too, and I don't think he's fought 4 times. Nah, he's never fought 4 times. Even Valentina. I don't even think Valentina, who is probably the most active champion, has fought 4 times. Nah. You don't get 4 fights in a year when you're the champ. It just doesn't happen. It does not happen. So I like to see long title reigns. Like, if you fight twice a year, that's 2 years of you being the champ. If you could just get 3 title defenses or 4 title defenses. And honestly, like, other than like John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, there hasn't been a title reign over 7 defenses. even Amanda, like, she was going up and down, so she doesn't have, like, all of her wins aren't in one division, so she doesn't even have that many, like, she has that many total defenses, but in a division, she doesn't have, like, it's halved. So I like long title reigns, so I would like to see Alex stay at 45. But that's me personally. I would like to see him stay at 45 just for my own feelings, not even, like, because of the sport. And him fighting Henry Cejudo is really the only person left. Henry's been talking about coming up to 45 for quite a while. He re-entered the USADA drug testing pool in April. He's doing all the right things to make a comeback. He's probably going to be a little bigger just because he's only been training. You know, he doesn't have to worry about cutting weight or losing weight. He's only training. So he's probably going to be a little bigger, a little stronger than when he was last. Coming up to 45 and fighting Alex is pretty freaking solid. All right, at number 5, I have Conor McGregor's only entry on this list, and it is Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal in a welterweight bout. Two guys that really don't fucking like each other. Two guys that really play into each other's skill sets well. Two guys that are very good on the microphone. This could, if this happened in December, this could be the biggest pay-per-view and the biggest year in UFC history by such a wide margin. If they capped off this, honestly, this spectacular fucking year that we've already had, if they cap it off with McGregor versus Masvidal, all the money. They're going to make all the money. And I want to see it. I want to see these guys go at it. I like seeing Conor in the octagon. I wish he was in the octagon more. I just don't feel like he's okay with losing. And when you're in the octagon more, it increases your chances of losing. But honestly, I think activity is the thing that got him to where he got. And then he kind of stopped being active, and his career's on a big, big downward spiral. So maybe Conor needs to drop the business for 3 or 4 years and just focus on fighting. Because in 3 or 4 years, if you can fight 10 times, that's pretty damn good. You make $7 million a fight. You make $10 million a fight. You fight 10 times in 4 years. That's $100 million, dog. $70 million. Like, it's not. You're gonna take a hit financially, not being the businessman that you are, but being more active. You know, it'll mean more to your legacy, which is kind of what all of your fans, who including myself, signed up for in 2014. And Jorge is a fucking gangster. Just period. Flat out. That man's a gangster. From the 305. East side. That's what it is. Coming in at number 4, I've got Nate Diaz's only entrance. So I only put my 2 favorite fighters on here twice. Or once each. Don't fucking yell at me, okay? Put John Jones on this motherfucker 3 times. Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier at 170 pounds. Look, these guys have been going back and forth. It's kind of just like the Conor versus George thing. Like, these guys have been going back and forth on Twitter. I just kind of want them to shut the fuck up and fight. I think it would be the best fight of the year, probably, because neither of these guys are getting knocked the fuck out. And both of these guys fight at a really high pace with a whole lot of volume. So it'd be an absolute war. It would be like, yeah, it would be a very exciting 5-round fight. Both of these guys will come out busted. It would be fight of the year contender for sure. For sure. All right, coming in at number 3 at heavyweight, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And then coming in at number 2 at heavyweight, John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Honestly, in a perfect world, we get to see both of these fights, one in September, one in December. That's a perfect world. It's not a perfect world. But I would rather see John fight Francis just because I want to see John get knocked the fuck out. I think John had a point when he said the win over Stipe means more because Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's the most accomplished heavyweight of all time, and he's still somewhat in his prime. Sean Jones versus Francis for the title, of course, would definitely be a bigger draw, a bigger sell. But Jon Jones versus Stipe would mean more for each of their legacies. And they're both legends. So, yeah, that's my 2 and 3. And coming in at number 1, I got 155-pound lightweight fight, championship fight, Charles Oliveira versus Alexander Volkanovski. I know I just talked all that shit about long and lengthy title reigns. But you got to admit, Charles done ran through the whole division already. Alex, like, come on, man. Like, that shit would be awesome. Like, it would be awesome. I want it to happen just because it's good for Alex's, like, legacy, I guess, because if he goes up and gets it, he's probably the greatest fighter of all time. And he's even talking about going to 170, which, that's fucking crazy. But, yeah. And Charles is kind of on his way to becoming the greatest lightweight of all time. So if we can make this fight, like, potentially, if Charles Oliveira can literally have the longest title reign ever, of course he'd be the greatest of all time. People are already starting to throw him in that conversation of greatest lightweight of all time. Alexander Volkanovski just stamped his mark on the greatest featherweight of all time. So we could be watching, like, potentially the greatest lightweight of all time in his prime, and potentially the greatest, or I guess undeniably the greatest featherweight of all time in his prime, fight for a championship. As much as I don't like it, that's pretty fucking cool. So, yeah, I put it at number 1. That's my list. Doesn't have to be correct, but it's mine. Thank you to everybody who watching. Thank you to Mikey for yesterday. We went hard in the paint, filmed like 5 podcasts. So thank you to that man for always being a gangster. Thank you to Mom, Dad, and Mom. Thank you to Mr. Nathan. Thank you to Shane. Thank you to Matthew. Thank you to Lucy, Ethel, and of course, my main man, Buddy, back home. I miss you, doggo. I'll be back. Peace.